Hemlock. A plant this unremarkable should not have ended the life of one of history's most famous philosophers. Poison hemlock grows across the United States, Europe, and Asia in disturbed soil, roadsides, fields, and the edges of streams. It looks like wild carrot. It looks like parsley. It has small white flowers arranged in flat clusters and hollow stems with purple spots near the base. Nothing about it announces what it contains. In 399 BC, the Greek philosopher Socrates was sentenced to death by an Athenian court. The method was a cup of hemlock. His student Plato recorded what happened. The numbness began in the feet and moved upward through the legs, the body, and toward the chest. Socrates remained conscious and spoke to his students until the poison reached his heart. The toxin responsible is choline, an alkaloid that blocks the signals between nerves and muscles. It does not cause pain. It causes paralysis, moving upward from the lower body until the muscles that control breathing can no longer function. Death follows from respiratory failure while the mind remains aware. Hemlock was not a rare poison kept in locked rooms. It grew in the fields outside Athens. It grows in fields across America right now, next to hiking trails and along creek beds, and it is frequently mistaken for edible plants by foragers who do not know the difference. The purple spots on the stem are the detail that separates it from wild carrot. Most people who encounter it have never been told to look. Belladonna. Its name means beautiful woman. That name was not given by accident, and it was not given as a warning. Deadly nightshade, known in botany as Atropa belladonna, grows across Europe and has naturalized in parts of the United States. Renaissance-era Italian women used drops of its extract in their eyes to dilate the pupils, which was considered attractive at the time. The plant was named for that practice. The same compound that made the pupils expand was also capable of stopping the heart. Belladonna contains atropine and scopolamine, tropane alkaloids that block the receptors the nervous system uses to regulate the heart, glands, muscles, and vision simultaneously. A small dose produces hallucinations, disorientation, and an inability to form new memories. A larger dose produces coma and cardiac arrest. Roman Empress Livia Drusilla was accused by ancient historians of using belladonna to poison figs, eaten by her husband, Emperor Augustus, in 14 AD. Catherine de' Medici, who brought Italian court culture to France in the 16th century, was said to have maintained a personal collection of poisonous plants and tested their effects on hospital patients before selecting those she considered effective. Neither account can be confirmed. What is confirmed is that belladonna was the poison of choice in European courts for centuries because its effects could be made to resemble natural illness. It left no obvious mark. It required no weapon. It only required access to someone's food. Belladonna is dangerous not because it is exotic. It is dangerous because it was used by people who understood exactly what it did. Castor bean. On September 7, 1978, a Bulgarian dissident named Georgy Markov was waiting for a bus on Waterloo Bridge in London. A man behind him jabbed him in the leg with the tip of an umbrella and apologized before walking away. Markov died 3 days later. The autopsy found a small platinum pellet embedded in his thigh. Inside the pellet was ricin. Ricin comes from the seeds of the castor oil plant, Ricinus communis, a plant grown commercially across the world for its oil, and found in gardens across the American South and Southwest. The seeds are glossy, patterned, and easy to handle. The oil that is pressed from them is used in cosmetics, lubricants, and medicine. The mash left behind after pressing contains one of the most toxic, naturally occurring substances known. Ricin works by entering cells and destroying the ribosomes, the structures responsible for building proteins. Without proteins, cells cannot perform any of the functions necessary to survive. The damage is irreversible. There is no antidote. The body cannot repair what ricin destroys. Monkshood. In 2009, a woman in the United Kingdom died after gardening without gloves. She had been handling monkshood, also known as aconite or wolfsbane. The toxin entered through her skin. She died within hours. Monkshood grows in mountainous regions of Europe and Asia and is planted in ornamental gardens across the United States and United Kingdom for its dramatic purple-blue flowers. It is sold in garden centers. It is legal to grow. It is one of the most toxic plants in the Northern Hemisphere. The toxin is aconitine, an alkaloid that works by holding open the sodium channels in nerve and heart muscle cells. Normally, these channels open briefly to transmit a signal, then close. Aconitine prevents them from closing. The nerves fire continuously. The heart receives a sustained, unregulated signal that disrupts its rhythm until it fails. Aconitine does not need to be eaten to enter the body. It is absorbed through skin. Gardeners who handle the plant without protection have been poisoned. The sap on a cut leaf, transferred to a small break in the skin, is enough to begin the process. Water hemlock. The United States Department of Agriculture has described water hemlock as the most violently toxic plant in North America. It grows in wet meadows, along stream banks, and at the edges of marshes across the entire continent. It looks like wild parsnip. It looks like edible water plants that grow in the same environments. Its roots have been mistaken for parsnips, wild artichokes, and other edible roots by foragers who did not recognize what they were digging up. The toxin is cicutoxin, a compound that directly stimulates the central nervous system into uncontrolled activity. It does not cause a quiet decline. Within 15 to 60 minutes of ingestion, the convulsions begin. They are described in historical accounts as grand mal seizures of extreme severity involving the entire body, continuous and without pause. Internal injuries from the sustained muscle contractions are documented. Death from respiratory failure or cardiac arrest follows, sometimes within hours of the first symptoms. It grows along the same creek banks where people forage for edible plants. The difference between water hemlock and several edible species it resembles is a detail most people walking past it would never notice. Foxglove. Foxglove does not hide its danger. It disguises it as medicine. Digitalis purpurea grows across Europe and North America with tall spikes of purple, pink, or white bell-shaped flowers marked with spotted throats. It has been planted in gardens for centuries. In the 18th century, an English physician named William Withering documented its use in treating dropsy, the accumulation of fluid in the body that accompanies heart failure. His work became the foundation for digitalis medicine, still used in cardiac treatment today. The same compound that slows a dangerously rapid heart to a functional rhythm will stop a healthy heart if the dose is too high. Cardiac glycosides from foxglove have a therapeutic window so narrow that the difference between treatment and poisoning is measured in milligrams. In 1994, a nurse in the United Kingdom named Colin Norris was convicted of murdering patients using digoxin, a purified form of the foxglove compound, administered in lethal doses. In the United States, multiple cases of healthcare workers using digoxin to cause unexplained patient deaths have been documented and prosecuted since the 1980s. Foxglove poisoning from the plant itself occurs regularly when foragers mistake the leaves for comfrey, borage, or mullein, all of which can look similar to an untrained eye. Foxglove became medicine because someone understood what it did to the heart. It remains dangerous for exactly the same reason. Oleander. Oleander is planted along highways, in public parks, outside schools, and in the front gardens of residential neighborhoods across the American South, California, and the Gulf Coast states. It survives heat and drought without care. Its flowers are pink, white, red, or yellow. It is everywhere, and almost nobody treats it as dangerous. In ancient Rome, Pliny the Elder wrote about oleander and noted that it was fatal to many animals. Historical accounts from across the Mediterranean describe its use as a poison over a period of centuries. In India, oleander seeds were recorded as a method of suicide and homicide in medical literature as far back as the 10th century. A 2004 study documented over 500 oleander poisoning cases in a single region of Sri Lanka over a 10-year period. The toxin is oleandrin, a cardiac glycoside that disrupts the electrical signals controlling the heartbeat. The heart loses its rhythm and slows. The process can take hours, which historically made oleander poisoning difficult to distinguish from natural cardiac events. In the absence of a specific toxicological investigation. Strychnine tree. For most of the 19th century, strychnine was sold in pharmacies across the United States and Europe without a prescription. It was marketed as a stimulant, a digestive aid, and a treatment for paralysis. Athletes used it as a performance enhancer. It was an ingredient in widely available patent medicines. Doctors prescribed it. It sat on shelves in ordinary homes. It comes from the seeds of Strychnos nux vomica, a tree native to India and Southeast Asia that looks completely unremarkable. The seeds contain strychnine, an alkaloid that blocks the glycine receptors in the spinal cord. Glycine is an inhibitory neurotransmitter, the signal that tells muscles to relax after they contract. When strychnine blocks those receptors, the muscles cannot stop contracting. It was removed from over-the-counter sale in the United States in the 20th century. It is still used in some countries as a pesticide. The tree that produces it is still growing across South and Southeast Asia, unremarkable and unannounced. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, you already know what to do.